Is it the end of the dollar? With BRICS countries ready to dethrone the official currency for international trade, what does this mean for you? And why is China leading this coup? Let's find out. For many years, the US dollar has served as the standard for international trade. The creation of a new currency has been discussed recently in an effort to replace the dollar and challenge American hegemony. De-dollarization has gained momentum since the start of the Russia-Ukraine war. Apparently, the BRICS countries are developing a new payment system based on a plan that does not defend the dollar or euro. But do the BRICS countries genuinely want a new trade currency? Who is leading this movement? Who will benefit from it? And will the plan come to pass? There are many questions that need to be addressed. But one thing's for sure, gone are the days that the US dollar was the king of currencies. In 1944, it was designated as the official reserve currency of the globe. The Bretton Woods Agreement, a delegation of 44 allied nations, made the choice, and it's had a strong position in the world ever since. You see, since then, the US has had an excessive amount of influence over foreign economies, like using sanctions as a tool to push their foreign policy objectives. But not everyone enjoys following US regulations. Countries like China and Russia want to end the dollar's hegemony, which is known as de-dollarization, the process of killing the dollar's dominance on international markets. Supporters of this movement believe that by lessening other nations' reliance on the US dollar and its economy, they will be able to lessen the effects of US political and economic changes on their own economies. Also, nations can lessen their susceptibility to interest rate and currency volatility, which can enhance economic stability and lower the likelihood of financial crises. Makes sense for them, right? Over the past few years, and particularly in the last year, this movement has accelerated. The International Monetary Fund stated in 2022 that central banks today do not maintain as many dollars in reserves as they did in the past. According to the IMF's currency composition of official foreign exchange reserves data, the dollar's share of global foreign exchange reserves fell below 59% in the final quarter of last year, extending a two-decade decline. Strikingly, the drop in the dollar's share has not been accompanied by a rise in the shares of the euro, yen, or any other traditional reserve currencies, such as the pound sterling. Instead, there has been a two-way shift away from dollars, with 25% going to the Chinese renminbi and 75% going to the currencies of smaller nations that have played a lower role as reserve currencies. Western governments removed Russian banks from the SWIFT global payment system and froze $300 billion, or almost half, of Russia's foreign exchange reserves as retaliation for the country's invasion of Ukraine. And since then, not just Russia, but many other countries have been alarmed by the alleged weaponization of the dollar. Let's not forget that talk of de-dollarization of the global trading system has been sparked by countries that are eager to continue trading with Russia, such as India and China, who have started doing it in rupees and yuan instead. As a result of their current yuan-based trade, Brazil and China are promoting the Chinese renminbi as a viable alternative to the dollar. In fact, India has been attempting to stray from the dollar as well. 18 nations received authorization to trade in Indian rupees, including the United Kingdom, Germany, Russia, and even the United Arab Emirates. In order to improve commerce, the BRICS nations, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, are also considering the creation of a new currency. The new financial arrangement may be implemented as soon as the country's annual meeting in South Africa in August 2023. According to sources, Russia is the driving force behind the plan because it has been subject to economic sanctions by the West due to its invasion of Ukraine. China is also behind the creation of a single currency since it would bring an additional 1.4 billion people into the system. Now, China has consistently criticized the dollar hegemony, but its authorities have not developed a clear strategy to undermine its standing as the world's reserve currency. The deterioration in U.S.-China ties has brought to light the power of the U.S. currency and its capacity to obstruct Chinese commerce and technological advancement. These obstacles have pushed China to leave the US-dominated global order and maybe establish a sphere of influence with the BRICS countries. You see, China is the greatest trading partner in the world and is ideally situated to support the de-dollarization of the region and the world. In terms of financing for development, they play a significant role in several Asian and African nations. In fact, Beijing has been attempting to lessen its reliance on the dollar for more than 10 years. This effort is driven by concerns about potential dangers associated with the U.S. economy, such as the 2008 financial crisis, and a desire to expand its own sphere of influence. But as China tries to prepare for a potential war with Taiwan, a determination to shield its economy from dollar-based sanctions has emerged as maybe the biggest motive for decoupling from the greenback. And even though the yuan is still far behind the dollar in terms of global activity, China has been working to increase the internationalization of its currency since before the conflict in Ukraine. Get this, its market share in the multi-trillion-dollar ecosystem that supports 80% of global trade more than doubled between March 2021 and March 2023. Many observers believe it would be impossible for the West to penalize China economically without causing themselves harm, because China's economy is far more entwined with the West's than Russia's is. So the internationalization of the yuan is another measure China is taking to further its goal of self-defense. Oh, and national pride is also related to the effort to cut ties from the international currency. If China continues to rely on the dollar for trade, international borrowing, and the price of energy and commodities, it cannot legitimately assert that it is a major power, can it? Although it's uncertain whether the BRICS would establish a reserve currency anytime soon, its developments will have a huge impact on the world economy and could represent a threat to the US dollar's hegemony as the main reserve currency. This change would also increase the risk associated with current investments, as the changing environment would affect monetary policy and heighten geopolitical tensions. If this goes through, the BRICS countries will be able to demonstrate their economic independence while competing with the current global financial system. The BRICS nations might gain from a new currency in a number of ways, including more effective cross-border trade and more financial inclusion. The currency has the potential to transform the world's financial system by utilizing blockchain technology, digital currencies, and smart contracts. They could also benefit from increased trade and economic integration as a result of frictionless cross-border payments. Having said that, the US dollar, which dominates the current system, accounts for nearly all oil trading and about 90% of all currency trading. Nearly all central banks around the world retain dollars due to its prominence as the most used currency for conversion and its use as a benchmark in the Forex market. Yes, the dollar is still the most extensively used reserve currency, followed by the euro, the yen, the pound, and the yuan, despite the fact that the share of the dollar as a reserve currency has fallen as the euro and yuan have grown in popularity. But for how long? Some experts don't think that a new BRICS currency will have any effect on the US dollar or challenge the dollar's dominance. But a new international currency stabilizing versus the US dollar will lessen the impact of US sanctions, causing the dollar's value to drop even further. Plus, it can result in a financial catastrophe that affects American families. And as China's ally countries continue to diversify their reserve holdings, developing currencies may compete more fiercely with the US dollar, potentially shifting the balance of power in international markets. In the end, how a new BRICS currency affects the US dollar will depend on how widely it's adopted, how stable it's considered to be, and how well it can challenge the dollar's long-standing hegemony. According to some observers, Beijing will gain more from this new agreement than New Delhi or Moscow. It's unclear what will happen next, but one thing's for sure, the dollar is weakening. In the comments below, let us know what you think about China's plan to dethrone the dollar. Make sure to subscribe for more on this, and we'll see you in the next video.